Hello everybody and welcome to IWM TV, coming to the whole world from our headquarters in Shropshire. And today we've got one of the world's great watercolour masters with us, who's going to give us an exclusive insight into not necessarily art, but more about his life. And I'd like to introduce you to Alvaro Castagnet from Uruguay. Hello, Alvaro, and welcome.
Hello, David Poxon. How are you? I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to express myself and talking about a broader interview, not just about painting.
Yeah, but painting is what got you here. But I think when people talk to me about you, Alvaro, and ask me what you're like, I always say to them, I don't think it would have mattered what Alvaro's chosen profession was. He would have reached the top because that's the dynamic of your character. And it'd be interesting for our viewers all around the world to know a little bit about how it all started for you from the streets of Uruguay and your hometown. So where were you born?
Well, I was born in Montevideo, the capital of Uruguay. Yes, and then Uruguay is it's a very, very Mediterranean country. It's basically Uruguay, Spanish and Italian blend of people, and that's Uruguay. And then I remember football was the thing that was in order every morning, every day, with all the kids on the streets. You know that you get involved in football, fighting, playing, all those kinds of things. So that was my childhood in the streets. I mean, not that when I say in the streets of Uruguay, doesn't mean in a pejorative way of, I have my family, my mom and dad looking after us, but I used to play football a lot and then playing with my mates. And yeah, Uruguay, Montevideo is all built in front of the sea, in front of the Atlantic Ocean, part of it, and River Plate. So we also have beaches, good the weather oscillate between predictable temperatures, like it's 4 seasons. It's a beautiful weather. So it was a country and a city, Montevideo, that has a propensity for going to the beach and good times.
Brazilian kids learn to control the football on the beach, bare feet. And I guess it was the same for you, Alvaro.
It's exactly the same. We got lots of influence from Argentina and Brazil. Yes, when you go to Brazil in the streets of Rio, they are playing football on the sand. And in Uruguay, play volleyball, football. Yes. But also we also play lots of football on the field. There were lots and lots of grass, type of field to play football. Not only on the beach, we play, and also on the streets in the bitumen.
Yeah,
we used to play on the streets.
It's just the same in the UK. I mean, kids that like me, I was brought up in a kind of fairly deprived area, industrial area, and we didn't have any money, and our only outlet was to kick a ball around. And that was it, because a football cost nothing, and sometimes we couldn't afford a football, so we would roll a load of jumpers together and tie them up and kick that about. And that's how we formed friendships and learned about right and wrong, and of course developed ourselves physically, and everything else could just go away. All we were interested in was football, and I guess it was the same for you. How did you do at school, for example?
No, well, good. I mean, I went to the public education back in Uruguay was at my time was extremely good as private. And my mother was the director of a public school, so I went to her school, my brother and I, and it was good. It was a few blocks away from home, and we used to walk to the school. And no, primary school, good.
Was was your brother's name Gonzalo?
Gonzalo. Yeah, my mother is Spanish, a Spanish background, and she called my brother and I following very typical Spanish names. You know, Alvaro from Alvarez, Gonzalo, my brother from Gonzales, and yeah, this is anyhow. That was my mother's decision to call us Alvaro and Gonzalo. Yes. This is a derivation of Gonzalez as a surname and Alvarez. So yeah, there you are. No, not that my name is Alvarez or Gonzalez. My surname is Castagnet, but my mother called us that way. Yeah.
Well, fascinating stuff.
Already.
Yeah. I don't know how I got my name. Well, I do really. But so at your school,
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
were there art classes at the school? Did you start?
I used to we obviously schools. We were going to there, playing sport as well. But no, that we used to have a segment in primary school that they teach us how to use our hands in carpentry. And also more precisely in carpentry, I remember doing all kinds of things with the elements that you need in order to make shelves or things for putting the cutleries to help your, just for enjoyment, and maybe with the intention of helping to bring an item that it has been used a lot in your household, things like this. I remember that as a crafty gravitation of the tuition back in, but no painting. The thing is, my father, I remember this, which my father used to play maybe once a week or whatever, pool in a special club. And I remember that one of his great friends was a very, very prominent watercolor artist in Uruguay. And so my father used to follow me because I used to play football a lot, and I used to play the conversation come back to that again. And so my father used to follow me to the field because I was playing in teams with referees and all that. One thing was to play football on the street, but then I don't want to make up a comment that it sounds maybe with a degree of vanity to it, but I used to play very good football, and I'm tall, so I used to be playing on the striker, and some professional teams in Uruguay wanted to play for them. You see, so my father was very much next to me in every game playing football. Then for me that was important because I even though there were lots of people on the as a crowd, I always made sure where he was in the field, watching me. And I used to play for him. I was a kid. Plus also my dad was my dad didn't have much education, I would say, but he was very sensitive to classical music. So he has a huge collection of classical music, and also he used to read a lot about his natural history. He was also, so my father has a natural flair for art. So what happened was that he was very supportive of my drawing skills. When I was in primary school, he used to criticize the paintings and the things I was doing with it. He was sitting down next to me, and I remember putting the paintings on the floor because he was sitting down on a chair, and then looking down and saying, I remember him correcting me, my perspective and things. But anyhow, why I'm saying this, because when he was playing pool with that guy, my father says, hey, like any other proud dad, it happened to all of us. You have to see my son. You have to see my son. His drawing is so good, and the way he used color, blah blah blah. and this guy was a very prominent watercolor painter. Amongst oils and acrylic, he makes for the government big oils for a government office. So he was a well-known artist. So he said to me one time, I was in primary school, and he said to my dad, "Bring it over to my studio. You know, I want to see what he does." And all that kind of stuff. So what happened is, that was when I was around 11 years of age. I got involved with this guy. You know what I mean? Going to his studio with. So he was very good artist, and obviously he was very busy in his studio. See what I mean? So the induction of knowledge that came to me, it was effortless, because what happened was, I go one-to-one, I go to the studio, and he used to say, "Oh, well, do this," and you know, like a kid, "Do this and see how you go. I'm painting, you bring the work over," you know what I mean? So he kept on painting and doing his own thing, but I was sneaking into his studio and seeing how he does the painting. Like, he was painting big oils. And
so what you all those things you're mentioning, there's a tremendous fusion of skills that you are absorbing, even though at the time you know, as kids, we don't know, we're just experiencing things.
yes,
The artistry and accuracy of the pool cue, and the angles, the visit to the famous watercolorist studio, the sport, the physical development, and the teamwork, and the angles that you have to pass the ball at. I always think watercolor painting is a sport, because just like any sport, you sometimes win and you sometimes lose. The more you do it, the more you practice, maybe the better you get at it, but you're still never guaranteed of creating an absolute winner. And I'm
yes,
sure you'd agree with that. And that's one of the things that keeps us going, because it's the unpredictability of it. But when I look at your work, and I think I've said this to you as well, your work goes beyond a mere surface image of something. Because, and as you're explaining your childhood and your background, it makes sense that all the characters and the experiences that you've had are not just reflected in the surface image that you're producing. They are actually imbued in the paper. Now you have got hundreds of thousands of people that try to copy what you do.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they are just copies, because they can only be one you. They are not feeling what you feel. And this is what makes you separate from a lot of the other artists that are practicing out there. So when you got to your teenage years, you were a striker in football. I thought you were maybe a centre back, because you're a big guy.
Yeah, I was different position, but the thing is, yes, I used to be a central half in the center. You know, the line of three after the central ones in the center. Number 5 will be in the old kind of numbering the players on the field. But and then because of when I was young, I was already reached 1.85 m or so. You know, 84. I was quite tall for my age. So I remember the coach put me at number 9 to kick the ball with the head. You know what I mean? Yes. Pretending to win a game with just kicking with the
just so you know, in those days the football was not like the modern ball. It was a heavy ball, and when it was wet, it was when the ball got wet, it was like a medicine ball, so heavy.
Yeah, I remember that when he was coming from heavily from a long distance with inertia and the massa of the weight of the ball, and kick and hit the ball with the head. Was you end up with a big headache.
Yeah, these days they got it easy. So as you got a little bit older, you could have been a professional footballer. I'm sure you could have been, but you're also.
There are two things that, because it's not, I got to be careful how to say, "Oh, look, I was a good football player." Or, "Look, I'm doing well in painting." look, I have my failures. I have my failures. The only thing I can say is as a sportman, and I'm just simply saying the truth, I have ability. I have ability playing volleyball. I was very good in playing volleyball, and football was my I mean, in South America, in Uruguay, Argentina, Brazil, you open the door of your home and you see kids playing football. That's it. Football was a game.
Yeah.
And so you grow up obviously just having a feeling for the game. But the other thing is, yes, I have harmony. I am harmonious when I run or when I give the ball. But that's it. That's what I can say. Yes, I'm saying the truth, so I'm not afraid of sounding silly.
No.
Sport, okay. Football. Yeah, I could have played because they come to pick me up from. But that's the thing. They come to pick me up from a professional team in Uruguay to play football, and my mother was the one that says, no, Alvaro have to study. You know how my mother was the director of public school, 500 kids under her order. So my mother was very, very tough. No time for football. No time for football. And whether, and let me finish this little concept. Whether my father, because my father was a good man, but not very well educated. However, he was smart and he was artistic kind of guy. But I remember at home there was always a bit of a conflict of interest. You know what I mean? Either play football. Or another thing that my mother wasn't too happy was that I wanted to take art classes. You know, none of these things. My mother was very happy about it. You know, because she said, "Oh, yeah, great for painting. Yeah, but you have to go to study. You have to go to school and hopefully to university and finish tertiary school." And my father was always chasing me to play football and also putting me in art school. And when I was showing him my work, you know, he was all the time saying, that's so good. I like your colors and I like this. So even though I have the highest, and I finish it, I have the highest regards about my mother, the best. My father was actually, maybe without knowing, or maybe in his somehow innocence, he put me in the right track in life. And also my father put me in art schools all the time. And he said to me, don't listen to mom. You know, he said, it was a simple sentence, but I remember it forever. He says, never do in life, never, he says, never do things in life against will. Life is short, do what you want. Yeah. And don't listen, you don't need to be a lawyer, you don't need to be an architect or a doctor. Just you want to paint, you be a painter. Yeah. Never do things against will. Life is short. Very simple sentence. But however, when you reflect on them, life is short, we all agree. Never do anything against will. We should agree with that. It's the best thing to do in life. So there you are.
Well, that's fascinating information there. And I feel like I've had a parallel life to you, because it was the same in my family. My mother was quite educated and she wanted me to get qualifications and to get a proper job. And my dad just wanted me to go to work, play football and do other stuff and earn a living. Whereas my mother had more ambition for me. So it's little similarity there. So when you got to a kind of working age, you had to go and earn some money. So what were your first jobs that you actually went to do?
Well, a couple of jobs. Yes, being in Uruguay is a great country to live, believe me, but it's a small economy. That's the so you cannot believe out of pretending to be an artist and selling your work, especially when you're a young kid. Anyhow, my brother is older. He's an older guy, 2 years old. And one of the things that he got me, he has a friend. You have to see that the industry in Uruguay, one of the main industries is meat, beef.
Yeah.
And okay. So a good friend of my brother has a huge farm, we call them estancias, and also he has a abattoir, a frigorifico, where they kill the okay. And he was a good mate of my brother, and I said to my brother Gonzalo, look, I need some money, I want some, some. And so I remember he said to me, well, if your brother going to the butchers, I give him any area he wants, maybe pick up the best area in Montevideo, I pay him 25 cents a kilo for whatever meat they cut the cow in half. You call in Spanish, we say media res, that is around 350 kilos. So I remember that all of a sudden, and by maybe coincidental, but my brother put me in the right track, I used to earn lots of money because 25 cents a kilo in Uruguay and it was so easy for me to sell so that was a first that was good, I remember, because it was fun talking to the butchers. I was a young kid and selling, half a cow, not every time, but very often. And they multiply 25 cents a kilo for 350. I said, I can't believe how much money I'm earning. So that's one thing. I bought a car, I remember. But the other one, and then also had a little business. I was a co-proprietor of a factory, but of a family, some kids from wealthy families, they start making leather goods and belts and bags for women and whatever. And I was a kind of outgoing guy and extroverted in a way, I didn't mind to face people and selling stuff. And so they were good mates of mine. And they said, listen, let's go half and half. We put everything, you go and sell our products. You know what I mean? Like young kids. And that was another thing I did. And I remember I was also very, very lucky, successful, because I used to walk the main streets of Montevideo, entering every shop and offering, look at the bags and look at the belts we make and wallets and blah, blah, blah. And because I was 50-50 without putting any money, I used to make quite a bit of money in. So there you are. I don't want to make a long story. I want to make a long story short. But these are the two first things I did, I remember.
Yeah. This is fascinating information. I'm sure none of the people listening to IWM TV will have heard any of this about Alvaro before.
Parallel to that, I was going to art school. My father put me to paint oils with one of the most prominent, believe me, one of the most prominent artists in Uruguay, in the level of the popes in art of Uruguay, in the highest level. So I remember that I learned with him a lot about the theory of colors and brushwork and calligraphy. I didn't understand the grace at that time. And he taught me the benefit of working with grace and this and that. So I was at the time, I was growing up older, I was dedicating quite a bit of my attention into art school.
So what kind of age were you then? Early 20s?
Yes, when I went to this professor, I think, not even 20s, 19, 18, 19, 20, maybe very early.
They're very important. They're very important years, those late teens, early 20s, and they shape the character of what you later become, because everything's coming at you fast and hard, isn't it? There's rock and roll, there's music, there's all these distractions, and yet somewhere in there you retained or started to develop your love for painting. You already loved painting, but it became a kind of focus for you, didn't it, as you progressed?
Of course. And also I remember that I remember clearly I used to draw sometimes and paint plenty of times on the floor on my home, on the floor. And I remember one case, some friends of mine, toughy guys, from conducting the soccer, the game, and the games in Uruguay. When you were going to play certain games, you almost certain you end up in a fight at the end of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't the big fighter or provoking fights, but when the team was going to play, I remember this case clearly. When we were going to certain field to play, we knew that it might be a problem. We need to go, all of us together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember they come to pick me up, and I was on the floor painting. I was on the floor using red and yellows and orange, something on the floor. And they opened the door and say, Alvaro, what are you doing? I said, listen, mate, I'm painting. And they thought, you silly guy, that's for ladies or whatever. You know what I mean? You have to come with us because today we have, this game. It's going to be, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
So I remember they've been very upset with me because they started making jokes and bullying me. As we were walking towards the field. Look at Alvaro, he's a painter, painting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look at the silly guy. Yeah. Instead of coming with us for playing, have a fight, like you almost celebrate,
Yeah, I know exactly those feelings because around the same kind of time, around that time, early 20s, I was a musician trying to be a rock star, and trying to play football as well, but the two things didn't really go together. And as I progressed,
the same.
As I progressed, I started to organise things for musicians and bands, and did quite well and travelled the world. But I was still trying to be a painter. And so I'd sit in a hotel room after the madness of a great big show and try and paint something. The two things didn't really go together. There'd be banging on the door, open the bedroom door, and there'd be loads of guys wanting to party with, all that stuff. And
same.
It's very easy, very, very easy to get distracted from the thing. But the thing about painting, as you know, and anybody that paints knows, is it's something that's in you. And it's something that you can do on your own in the quieter moments and go off into a very special zone, painting zone, where time stands still and whatever problems or issues there are going on, you just leave them behind. And it's very therapeutic. And I know paintings helped me all through my life to survive with some crazy situations. Maybe it was the same for you a little bit, that your sanctuary was painting, in the madness of surviving, making money, meeting people, fighting, and all the other stuff that we do as we grow, as we're growing up. Before we go, I just want to say that the show IWM started in International Watercolor Masters started in 2018. But it had to be born somewhere. And actually, Alvaro was instrumental in stimulating the birth of the International Watercolor Masters show, because I first met Alvaro some years before at a show in Shanghai in China. And we were there exhibiting. It was in honor of the great Chinese master Zidane Shen at a big museum in China. And as you do in these things, you end up in the hotel bar and you're having a couple of drinks. And Alvaro said to me, "What are you doing next year? What are your plans?" And which was to have a solo show in England at a historic venue. And Alvaro said, "It sounds like it could be pretty good, but with me in it would be great." And that was the seed that started the show, because I thought, well, actually, yes, it would be far more interesting with Alvaro in my show. And before I left that bar, all the other guys wanted to be in it as well. I'd like to thank Alvaro for taking part in this very special IWM TV presentation. Thank you, Alvaro, and we wish you all the best for the future.
Well, thank you, David. You are a friend, so I'm always ready whenever there is a new idea or something we need to communicate. So I'm always ready for you. I always have time for you, and for the watercolor pastime, which you and we enjoy so much. Yes. I call it pastime or hobby because for us it's not a work, it's not a job. You know what I mean? It's a pastime. That's the way. Incredibly enough, that's the way it should be.
Goodbye, Alvaro.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Okay, ciao.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay.